Hey, this is Seagrove, and today I'm here joined with a lot of excellent players. Why don't you guys introduce yourself as we talk before we talk about the Charlotte regional meta upcoming? Sam, I can't English. Sam, go ahead.
Hey, my name is Sam, and I will not be attending Charlotte this weekend, but it's the only regional I'm missing this year. I'm currently, I think, 5th or 6th on the leaderboards, and hopefully it stays that way, but you never know.
You never know. Schemanske.
I'm Christopher. Schemanske, you might have just noticed. I run 6 prizes with Alex Hill, and I'm 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, I don't know. Somewhere below my brother, that's what matters. Figure that out eventually. But yeah.
Russ.
I'm Russel LaParre. I run Someone's PC, someone'spc.com. I talk a lot. I have bold opinions. And yeah, that's about it. I moderate Hey Fonte, and I talk a lot more than the rest of the mods. So people usually like associate me with the same. I top 8 at St. Louis and Standard. Yay.
Ryan, go ahead.
My name is Ryan Sabelhaus. I'm a 5-time regional champion, and right now I think
wow, dude, come on, man. We're just talking about what we are, not.
I'm also in the middle of a Schemanske sandwich right now in the top 16 hunt, so it feels good.
Awesome. Well, we're preparing for Charlotte regionals. There are we just got over 800, so we should get top 256 points, which I'm really hoping doesn't matter for myself, but we shall see. So the meta we've already had a regional in this format, and we saw what seemed like 3 decks just dominate: Zoroark, Buzzwole, Garb, and Buzzwole Lycanroc. Sam, are those the best 3 decks in the format?
Well, I think the format is a little more complicated than that. I think it comes down to Zoroark decks and decks that beat Zoroark, or decks that are favorable against Zoroark. I think Zoroark definitely won. The 2/2 Lurantis tech was very cute that Ian and Joey played, but ultimately there could be a different Zoroark deck that finds itself as a top contender. I know Zach Bokhari played a counterbox version with a bunch of basic attackers that can counter energies to activate weakness on those attackers. I myself played Weavile. The Europeans had a different Weavile list as well with two Zoroark stand-ins and 2 Zoroark breaks. So there's other Zoroark variants that are well positioned in the meta to take a regional. And I think there's other decks like the Natalie and Mahone's Buzz Garb list that was very strong, a 2nd place finish. That deck certainly crushes Zoroark if it doesn't dead draw. There's other Buzzwole Lycanroc was the most played deck. I think there were 109 of those played out of 1,000, so it's just over 10% of the meta as well. And that deck certainly has an even to favorable Zoroark matchup in most cases. So I think the meta comes a lot down to Zoroark versus beating Zoroark, and even within Zoroark decks, people are doing cute things. I know Igor started the trend of playing a 1 Sudowoodo, 1 counter energy in Zoroark Golisopod to give him advantage in mirror. There's Zoroark decks. I know Frank Diaz this past weekend, I was at a cup with him, and he played 4 missing clovers and the Kartana. That's another variant. So Russell's shaking his head because he thinks it's bad, but there's a lot of ways to play Zoroark, and I think I certainly can't tell you which one's going to come out on top in Charlotte.
Okay, well that's Christopher's question. So, what's the best Zoroark variant?
Oh, so I get the loaded question. Okay, yeah. Excellent. Well, I don't believe there's a good answer to that question.
It's Zoroark or Ninja, guys.
Right, exactly.
There are some bad ones, some bad answers.
Of the ones at the moment, what I'm most considering playing is probably Zoroark Golisopod. I have no idea what goes in that finally yet.
Good for you, Schemanske. Let's go. That's virgin.
I think the counter energy thing that Igor did is pretty interesting. I'm not a fan of the Lurantis that Wes, Joey, and Ian came up with, as they're going to remind me for the next 3 years or so. Most played in St. Louis, Collinsville was Golisopod, followed by Lycanroc. And I think Lycanroc will fall off a bit heading into this weekend. I think Golisopod will be heavily played, which makes it kind of a catch-22. I think it's the best most well-rounded of the variants, but also the mirror can be really strange, and that I think is something that's going to be important headed into the weekend.
Okay, so Russ, you just played Zoroark and did well with it. Do you play 3 or 4 parallel?
2.
Okay. Is the Rangaroo necessary?
For the mirror match, yes, but most people play like crap, so they don't see why it's good. And I will say that in the most honest way possible, that I don't believe the mirror match, when between 2 really, really good players, that mirror match is complete toxic. It's horrible. It's so resource like oriented, but when you have a very high skill cap, like if it's like a mediocre player or someone who hasn't piloted the deck before versus someone who's like gone through multiple tournaments playing Zoroark, they're gonna stomp the living mess out of them because you don't like prioritize movements quickly. Also my build was super well built to counteract the Lurantis version in other people's decks. Only because I knew to put Enhanced Hammer, Acerola, and then a Rangaroo into my game plan. And when people see Rangaroo, they think, oh, it's just in there for a mill. And I'm like, you're wrong. It's actually so I can go like Enhanced Hammer, Acerola, double puzzle, Guzma, trap something, like trap a Wimpod, and then make it a Rangaroo and toss back double puzzle and Enhanced Hammer. And I never see anyone actively going to make that play when it's like in the back of my mind since I begin my cup. I played a cup this weekend. I played against 3 mirror matches in Swiss, and the entire time in Swiss, I just waited for a moment. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna deck you now. Like it was like turn 3, and the Rangaroo is very, very good. I just don't think people see it nor do they play to it. So,
okay. Ryan, what Zoroark decks or what decks beat Golisopod Zoroark?
What decks beat Golisopod?
Yeah.
Mirror match, and I think Buzzwole can be. Buzzwole's close. Buzzwole Lycanroc, I feel like, is close. Not as close as Buzzwole Garb. Buzzwole Garb is probably a little closer. And then other Zoroarks just have 50. It's kind of 50-50s, and it's just whoever's played the matchups more and whoever can draw better and has the right tech cards. You can beat any Zoroark deck if you have the right tech cards. If you play like 3 or 4 parallel, or if you play a bunch of Acerola. Okay. It just kind of comes down to builds.
To piggyback off of that, just because like I know you're asking all of us individually, but I also give Zoroark Lycanroc the advantage over Zoroark Golisopod after testing it more.
I think that too.
Yeah. So like when I played against Pearson top 8, he just beat Kenny, who's playing a 60 card Mirror of Mine, except he played another Acerola instead of the Rangaroo because I'm nuts. And I dead drew game 1. Game 2, I decked him out because he made like a very awkward play, and I kind of trapped him into like a deck out when he had like 10 cards left in his deck. And then we went to game 3, and he had a mediocre start, and I couldn't find like a Guzma or a Lele off of like a double trade or in my draw for the turn, or I couldn't find an Ultra Ball. It was very frustrating. But the overall pressure was put on me the entire game just because of the speed of Lycanroc and their access to a turn 2 supporter into a Bloodthirsty Eyes play. And I must hit double Wimpod. If I don't have double Wimpod on bench and they punish my one Golisopod in play or my one Wimpod in play, then they hold the ball like on their side of the court. And only good players will be able to do that because Pierce in particular, like they need to know how to play around Golisopod's answer when you don't have a pod and your opponent brings up a Lycanroc, which is just a Lele. So like when they bring up a Lycanroc and swing at you with it, you can end them and battle them with the Lele from that on. And because you have Parallel City or a higher count than most do, then they can't fight back with Zoroark without you just going into like an Acerola chain against that. But overall, whenever I start thinking about like Zoroark variants and how I feel, it's the aggression is going to beat like the wall in a long span of games in my eyes. Like it's like, oh, they can make like a turn 2 Lycanroc and beat you in the face, but you just Golisopod it, right? I'm like, what if I miss my Wimpod and they have a turn 2 Lycanroc? Am I going to make a comeback after they take 4 prizes off me? Am I not going to make a Zoroark and never draw in the game? So it's more of I can hit them for weakness, but they're so quick that it pretty much takes over the game. So I give it like 55-45. It's still very, very close, but it's definitely favored to Lycanroc. Okay. And having access to Kukui is phenomenal. Like a turn 1, like you open a Lele, have a DCE, and you get like a double bench, and you Kukui and knock it out.
You're talking about 4 Lycanroc, right?
Yep, 4 Lycanroc.
Yeah. With Kukui, they can one-shot the Lele's a lot easier than you can with a Golisopod GX attack. So
I definitely feel like whenever I play that matchup, I'm on the back foot whenever I'm playing Pod. As opposed to Buzzwole Lycanroc, where I feel like it's just a haymaker. Like I'm gonna swing at this. Oh, you have a Buzzwole? All right, I'm gonna Mew you. Can you answer Mew? No. All right, then I'm gonna win the game with Mew. or with my Golisopod to your Lycanroc and so forth. But the Zoroark Lycanroc matchup, it just goes back and forth, and if you can keep up with their speed, then you're fine. But that's not always going to happen.
To jump on the question as well, like what beats Zoroark? I think there's a bunch of Fringe Tier 2 decks that have even to slightly favored matchups against Zoroark, and that's what actually makes them Tier 2, because they have good matchups against Zoroark, but then maybe some of their other matchups are iffy. So, for example, Vikabulu, certainly depending on the build, it can one-shot Zoroark and Golisopod. I know the strategy for Pod Zoro is definitely to use Armor Press with Parallel City in creative ways to try to beat Vikavolt. But in general, a strong Vikavolt player should be able to do even to favored. The problem is Vikavolt loses to things like Buzzgarb and Buzzrock. The other counters to Zoroark also sort of hamper Vikavolt. There's other things like Glaceon, which obviously is I would never play Glaceon in a standard regional, but it certainly does well against Zoroark if you have the right build. Even things like the deck I've been working on a little bit. I know I'm not going to Charlotte, so who cares? But as Ho-Oh Kiawe with a bunch of different attackers. My main difference that in my list versus other lists is I actually play Baby Volcanion, and I use that as part of the strategy to recharge in addition to Nitro Tank, and I think that's a slightly superior version, although I'm pretty sure, I don't know I'm pretty sure that I'm wrong there as well. But Ho-Oh Kiawe has a decent chance. It's at least 50-50 enough, slightly better depending on the skill of the two players.
Against Zoroark specifically?
Well, against Zoroark variants. I know Lycanroc, the Zoroark variants that aren't Lycanroc. So there's a bunch of Fringe Tier 2 decks that stand a chance against Zoroark, or slightly favored against Zoroark, but maybe don't do well against the rest of the field. And as much as we say, Zoroark is the best deck in the format, we go down the list and we see the second and third most played decks at Collinsville was Metagross and Vikavolt. So it's not...
That's okay, though.
Oh, sorry, not Metagross. Magnezone, Duskmane.
I got really confused for a second. I was like, what tournament was I at?
Why does Lycanroc have the advantage against Ho-Oh where the other Zoroarks don't?
If they bench 3 things, you can do strong choice band knockout. Usually they have to bench an Oranguru, Lele to get Kiawe, and they have to have the Volpix on the bench. So it gives you a one-shot option in addition to using Lele. Whereas Zoroark Golisopod, unless you play the Sudowoodo or something like that, it's you just can't one-shot the Ho-Oh.
Okay.
I think that's actually wrong. Like I think it's 60-40 Zoropod.
Really?
Tapu Koko is literally the game changer. So like if you prize Koko, I'll just scoop the game. I'm gonna lose. But if you don't prize Koko and then you go like Koko spread 100 onto the Ho-Oh, and if you have to Guzma, and if you don't Guzma around it, then the Koko's gonna kill you, and then it's an odd prize for like you to try working your Slazazzle game plan. But that's without testing your baby.
There's no Slazazzle.
If there's no Slazazzle, then it's different. Obviously, it's gonna be like your
it's just Turbo Ho-Oh Turtonator.
So Koko Lele doesn't just dumpster that? Because I can puzzle back Koko. We can keep this going. We can keep the Koko.
I mean, it does, but it's also very quick, right? The deck will win or lose in 5 turns max.
Koko's very quick too. He just comes up there.
Right, but
he takes 2 on the power.
He doesn't even have he has free retreat, dude.
Sure, but there's stuff like if you don't start Wimpod or Koko, and if you start Zuru or Lele.
Well, you can kill something and take 1 prize, and then I'm coming in with Koko.
Mm-hmm.
Like
maybe I just haven't played the matchup enough, but I've been doing favorably. I've been doing slightly favored with him.
Have you seen my recent Facebook status about playing against proper Zoroark players? He was playing against insufficient testing.
Plug.
That's awesome.
And with that, I'll have a drink.
Schemanske, how does Christopher, how does Zoro Gardy?
No, his name's Schemanske. I don't think no one calls him.
How does Zoroark Gardevoir match up against Ho-Oh Salazzle? How does it match up? First of all, how does it match up against Zoropod? That's what I really care about. And Zoro.
One of those questions is much easier to answer.
Okay. Go ahead. Start
Zoroark
with
Gardevoir and I guess Zoroark Golisopod. I haven't had too much time to test that matchup specifically to this point, but in my experience so far, it seems as though if Gardevoir is able to get off a turn where it pulls off a Gardevoir that can deal with a Golisopod, and then there's no way for the Golisopod player to return it, they can go on a 4-prize swing and make something of it. But with the list playing like Sudowoodo, it's much easier for the Golisopod to return that, and that would be a huge swing in the matchup, probably enough. So I want to play that more, but I think Golisopod should be able to beat it, and I think Zoroark is probably the better deck overall. As for Ho-Oh Salazzle, I think...
I'm sorry I even brought that up.
I'm pretty sure Zoroark Gardevoir should be able to beat that. But,
since they have 4 energies on.
Beat it? You mean backhand in the mouth?
Yeah. I tested Zoroark. I've tested Zoroark Ho-Oh a lot more than I should, given what I've had time for. And Sam's list sounds better than what I've been dealing with, but nonetheless, not been too impressed. But yeah.
So before, the issue for Zoroark was if Gardy gets up to Gallade, it wins. Is that not the win condition still?
Probably an element of it.
Are you talking about Zoro Gardy or straight Gardy? Because
Zoro Gardy versus Zoroark.
I think they need to play 2 for Glade in the first place, but
they play 1. But they play.
I got smacked in the mouth by Kyle this weekend in that exact matchup.
You mean the second Glade? Okay, got it. No, that would make sense, and that would probably swing things fairly well.
You have to deck them. You have to deck them.
Right.
It really, that's like pretty much the only reason to beat Kyle. And just deck him out and kick him in the face.
Makes sense.
I actually think Zoro Gardy is slightly favored against Zoroark, but
60-40 at least.
Yeah, for my testing, whatever testing I do, but I think Zoro Gardy is weaker against the rest of the field. It's one of those issues. It's you don't have the immediate, Gardevoir requires the rare candy, and so if you don't draw the right hand turn 2, Buzzrock put a lot of pressure on you. And even if you get the Gardy out, if your bench is too big, they could just one-shot your first Gardy, and then getting the second Gardy out is incrementally harder. So, I mean, I think Gardevoir is a good card. Obviously, it was the best card for half a year in the format before Zoroark came out, and it's still good. It's just it depends on what matchups you're willing to sacrifice, and things like a Zoroark, Garbodor, just fringe stuff also beats Zoroark Gardy in my opinion. So
Weavile destroys it.
Weavile,
it eats it alive, man.
Yeah, I think the other thing I will say about Zoroark Gardy is that it's very weak to Parallel City.
Mm-hmm. I think overall just don't play it.
You have so many moves. I mean, the better Sabelhaus was first seed in Collinsville after day 1 with it, so he finished in top 16.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ryan, hey.
Hey, what's up?
Ryan's just like,
and bringing up bad blood too, because he also beat me this weekend in that same matchup at a cup. He was playing Zoro Gardy, I was playing Zoroark. He smacked me. Well, mainly because he went first, and it's fair and balanced that he gets to take knockouts before I do. But whatever.
Sounds good.
No, it's what Zoroark I think ultimately it comes down to this. I think if I were to play Charlotte, I would actually the deck I'm on right now would be Zoroark Counterbox. Just because I think it's slightly different. You can outplay people with it. I think you can certainly plan around what your opponent's strategy is to use your counter energy effectively, especially against average or weaker players.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, like you get to practice, and then you yourself are a really good player, so you get to practice with people who know how to play around counter energy, right? Yeah. So like it's very, very different testing compared to people who have no idea what they're doing or have knowledge of your counter energy at all, right?
That's true.
Yeah, yes, but
that
surprise factor is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I played against the same person you were. Oh my gosh, the homies, the brothers in Collinsville. I played against. Yeah. I played against the baby Bakari. In day 2.
I actually lost to Zach day 2 in Collinsville. I had the win. I just promoted the wrong Pokemon. Legitimately, I lost the game because I promoted the wrong Pokemon, and then I got my revenge yesterday by beating him in the finals of the League Cup. But I mean, the deck, I think Counterbox is my favorite version going in because of the factor where you can outskill people. The second version I would play is Weavile. I played it once and I really like it. Obviously, my list in Collinsville, even though I got 18th, was suboptimal. I think the correct list maybe for Charlotte is some mix between the list I played in Collinsville, which you can find on Arcanine Labs, and the Malmo regionals. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But the Malmo regionals winning list that featured at least a Zoroark break. I think Zoroark break would have really helped me.
You'd play a second Weavile at least, right?
Nope, I'd stay 2-1.
Before we get into Weavile,
well, you got to find some cuts to put. What?
Let's wait.
I like 2. I like the 2-1 line. The 2-1 line is good because Sneasel is an extra basic, and you don't actually need to use Weavile more than once usually. You just need it for the big attack. It's like the threat of the Sneasel on the bench, that you can get the Weavile whenever. Like that's the important part. And with puzzles and the Zoroark engine, where you go through your entire deck, I just don't see. I don't see needing. I don't see needing a second Weavile. Also, Weavile is like very bad against Zoroark because they just evolve their Wimpods into Golisopods to get rid of the ability, and then they can sort of stagger their Zoroarks that way. And Tapu Koko doesn't have an ability. If they don't have to play Lele down, if they only have to play one Lele down. Look, I've pissed off Russell.
Russell's
so
like,
much.
I'm out.
He's out.
Before we
disagrees with me.
Before we get too deep into Weavile, I want to talk about counter blocks. Doesn't a well, first of all, for those who don't know, it's 4-4 or 4-3 Zoroark GX, depending if you're playing Zoroark Break in it. Are you playing Zoroark Break in your list?
No. Another note, this is personal preference. I would not go into Charlotte playing any less than 4-4 Zoroark GX in a Zoroark deck. And I know the Malmo winning list ran a 4-3-2-2 line of Zoroark.
I can't stand the ones that don't run 4-4 Zoroark.
I tried it. I hated it.
I
even hate a break. I mean,
if you prize a Zoroark GX, you're basically limiting yourself to one less bill every turn. Because your ideal board state generally is having 3 Zoroark GXs on the bench, and it's so easy to prize one when I don't know the exact probability. You'll have to ask Rukon probably. But,
it's not quite as bad, but I played a 4-4 with one stand-in Zoroark last weekend, and I just never wanted to evolve it to that. I was like, I could do more damage, or I could draw more cards. I would just rather I used it once effectively, and I was like, okay, this is a bad decision. It was a last minute add in. I wish I hadn't. But in the Zoroark counter box, are you playing Shaman?
You should.
Are you playing?
You lose to like
Sudowoodo?
You lose to a big deck. Like of course you play Sudowoodo. Shaman, Sudowoodo, and Cobalion are the 3 cards you have to play. Okay. So the other stuff that you might want to play, you could play Keldeo if you're afraid of Volcanion. You could play Mimikyu. Although I don't see why you would just not play a second Sudowoodo over Mimikyu, but you could play Mimikyu.
It's like
Coco.
For like Buzzwole.
Sorry.
It's like Buzzwole or something, but it's like Choice Band do the same thing.
Can't a really good player on the other end of the table really limit what you can do?
Yes.
Well?
Yeah. Yes and no, right? Yes, because
no, I backhanded that boy. I'm kidding. It depends.
Yes. Go ahead, Russell.
It really depends on the board state. If they have knowledge of your counter energy, which is why knowing decks going into day 2 and like who's playing what is actually very, very important. At the same time, like you can snowball lead so hard off of a single Sudowoodo that you don't really need to counter energy swing the rest of the game. Some builds are also like willing to play Rainbow Energy, basic fighting, basic grass, like a little basic whatever, to support their Sudowoodo with the same like as a backup. So you don't really have to play the counter energy at that point. But yeah, like you can play around it, but to an extent, it's just the people that don't get any kind of experience playing against a good player who's attempting to play around it. It's very different.
Okay. Sam, do you want to add to that?
No, I'm trying to find a bottle opener.
Okay. Very, very good. So then we have Zoroark Weavile, which a lot of, like you said, a lot of Europeans played it. Dead Draw Gaming was on it. What's the deck? What's the specialty of the deck? What's the point of the Weavile?
I guess I'm the best positioned person to answer that because I
no, you're not even going to the tournament, man. You're over here giving advice.
No, I was the only Zoroark Weavile to day 2 Collinsville, so I think I'll answer this one. Weavile is very good against Zoroark. Randomly against other things too, but against Zoroark, it's quite good because this is the dilemma that you place them in. They obviously generally have to Lele, 70% of the time they would have to Lele turn 1 to get the Bridget, which you still do anyway. So that's one ability. Zoroark GX has an ability. So that's possibly 2 abilities. You put them in the weird dilemma where they either have to stagger evolving their Zoroarks to prevent themselves from getting another Pokemon with the ability in play. But if they do that, you can sort of pick off their Zoruas using Guzma, which gives you not only a prize, but it denies the other Zoroark to make your late games end stronger if you ever knock another Zoroark GX. So it forces them into weird positions where they're unable to, where they have to choose between 2 weird options, which is to evolve and get 4 abilities in play to allow you to use Evil Admonition with Choice Band and one-shot their Zoroark, or to limit their bench but then cripple their own draw power. The other thing that's actually really good with Weavile is it can swing the prize trade. Just with 1 Lele and 2 Zoroark GXs in play, you can Guzma Lele with a Choice Band and take a knockout that way on a Lele, and that swings the prize trade. So obviously, I think this Weavile, it's as I mentioned earlier, it's worse against Golisopod because Golisopod doesn't have an ability. They just evolve both Wind-Pods into Golisopod and don't bench a third Wind-Pod, like never bench another Wind-Pod after your Acerola. But it's really good against things like Lycanroc. I definitely one-shot a Lycanroc with it in Collinsville, winning me one of my key match. Well, I had to win for it in Collinsville, but it won me like the penultimate round in day 1. It also is very good against things like Glaceon, which I played randomly because they had to Lele for turn 1. Eevee has an ability, Glaceon has an ability. It's randomly good. I guess the most interesting one is it actually helped me beat Kevin Baxter's Passimian deck, which should auto-win Zoroark, but I think Weavile makes it 50-50-ish because every Passimian has an ability, and if he ever has to bench a Lele or a Regirock, I can swing the prize trade that way. And so Zoroark puts your opponent in tough decisions, but I think as people have mentioned in this video already, if your opponent is more skilled, they can sort of play around it a little better. So knowing when to stagger your evolutions, trying to conserve benching Lele's, things like that to play around it. Also, you could goose if you ever take a early Zoroa knockout. So one tip when you're playing against the Weavile deck is to try to actually get an early Zorua knockout, because that way your 6 prizes, your plan could be that one Zorua you knocked out, the Weavile when they bring it up, and then a Tapu Lele GX, and then probably a Zoroark GX. So you can sort of go back on even prizes, and that's one way Weavile opponents can take advantage of the fact that you're using a 1 prize attacker.
Okay, real quick. Why no one of the other Weaviles and a Espeon?
Rule of Evil damages your own bench.
Not if you play mine. All right.
I mean,
we'll stop.
Sure. That's actually interesting, honestly. That you would have to build a deck around using Rule of Evil if you were going to use Rule of Evil. I think your matchups become a lot weirder. If you play Mime, that's power to you, and you get the Espeon off, you just win the game. But definitely, you would have to structure your deck around pulling that combo off every time against Zoroark.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe 2 1-ofs isn't worth it there. So let's go now to I could ask Christopher Schemanske specifically about this, since but I'll just throw it out there for everyone who wants a piece of the action. Rampardos.
I'll pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
I guess I can talk about this.
You're having a good time here, aren't you, Chris?
Rampardos made my life more difficult than anything in the last week and a half, which is saying something. Well, anyway, it's a deck. You beat things that say Zoroark GX, and if they don't say Zoroark GX, you have problems. The list that's been floating around a lot of circles is Rampardos with Talonflame, and you can use things like Talonflame Break, Arrow Blitz to do damage that isn't just, oh hey, it's a Zoroark, now it's knocked out. You only have so many niches you can fit into for attacking. So that limits the deck a lot. It beats certain things very well, but it probably doesn't beat a lot of things very well. So if you think you can go into this weekend and play against however many Zoroark decks you need in a row,
7,
you might do all right. I'm always hesitant toward that approach to a tournament. Like Travis and Alex talked me into that Glaceon thing in Costa Mesa, despite my total hesitancy toward anything that generally wants to hit just one specific matchup over and over again. But Zoroark really is quite big and standard for sure. One of my first concerns with this Rampardos thing when they started talking about it the Monday after Costa Mesa was, can it beat Buzzwole? They tell me it can beat Buzzwole. It's the one thing I couldn't test against today when I was testing the deck a lot to write the article that'll be on 6 Prizes Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know, whatever. So that still remains to be seen. If it can beat Buzzwole, maybe it's good. I don't know. It's just you're trying to do so much with attackers that are so weird. You need to work counter energy into it. Just really strange. And yeah, I'll leave it at that, I guess.
All right, Russ, do you want to add anything?
Deck's fun.
That.
Fair
Good
enough.
is good as a stretch.
Yeah.
I was asking them and I was like, "Yo, convince me to play it." And then when they were convincing me, I was like, "All right, I'm off of it."
Is it consistent at all?
This matchup's not that bad. I'm like, "Oh no, I don't."
That's
I
a
don't
good
like that at
description.
all.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the driver behind this originally was definitely Xander and Xander Pero, Travis Nunlist. They had this idea, and Alex Hill and I were witness to it. And then the idea got further out, and now I ended up writing about it. So here we are.
You're playing Rare Candy into a card that's not Gardevoir GX.
That's
We got
right.
problems. Or Flygon. If it was Flygon, I'm in there, you know? But come on now.
Ryan, what's the better Buzzwole variant?
I'd say for the regional Buzzwole Lycanroc, just because it's more consistent and Lycanroc is just so busted. Buzzwole Carbing's obviously, or Buzzwole Carbing Garbodor is obviously good, but I'd say if you want to have a better shot at doing well, I would go with Buzzwole or Lycanroc.
Okay.
Another thing that's happening to Zoroark lists is that they're playing the 3rd and sometimes the 4th field blower. I mean, it's coming full circle again, right? Because Tord originally played 4 field blower in his London list that sort of destroyed the Garbodor in the meta, and people stopped playing Garbodor, and then Zoroark started cutting their field blowers down to 3, down to 2, sometimes even down to 1. And then that's when a lot of Garbodor players said, oh, well, we can take advantage of this. Sorry, good Garbodor players said we can take advantage of this. Let's, if they're only playing 1 field blower, we can shut off their trade for the entire game quite easily. And so a lot of lists, we saw a resurgence of Garbodor, a little resurgence of Garbodor in Standard, and more recently, we've seen Zoroarks add back the 3rd field blower, and I think those Zoroark variants who have space and want to really beat Garbodor will play the 4th field blower in Charlotte. So I think I don't know if Buzz Garb is necessarily a good play.
It was a good call for Collinsville, but I'm not sure if it would be a good call for Charlotte.
Yeah, Natalie made a great meta call, and I think I don't know if Buzz Garb will see the same success.
I literally played Golisopod Garbodor or Zoroark Garbodor. Jesus, Zoroark Golisopod. Just because I expected to play against Garbodor. We're sitting there testing against Garb, and honestly, I can't beat it. Whatever.
You just need like 4 viable decks though on accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is Golisopod Garbodor worth playing again?
No. Why do you want to lose to yourself?
Same.
Like I gave up on that world. I'm done with
It doesn't
that.
have the draw of Zoroark.
Until Flygon gets reprinted in the next set, which it looks like it will. I'm here to stay. Zoroark easily gets you there. And I'm done playing the decks that are the wall to the hammer. That is Zoroark. I'd rather be the hammer.
Better, to quote Kyle Sabelhaus, better to be the problem than try and find the answer. So what other big decks do we need to talk about? We talked about Zoroark, we talked about Buzzwole a little bit. Or is there anything else you guys want to add for Buzzwole?
Hopefully you're hitting your max elixir. Good for you.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if you're dead drawing, you can still do well with it because you do damage.
Yeah, I think Buzzwole's pretty unique that you can win games where you just draw nothing. Like I was playing Zoroark Garbodor at a cup this weekend, which is not a mistake I'm going to repeat in the near future. And
you didn't like it? You didn't think it was so busted? You get the bursting.
No.
You get the bursting with your Garbodor.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I got home Friday night and asked my brother, "What do you want to play this weekend?" He's like, "This Zoroark Garbodor list," and I'm like, "Okay, I guess I haven't tested all week. Fine." We went to different cups. He won his cup, and I lost in top 8 to a Buzzwole because he literally didn't play a supporter in the second game, but I just didn't do anything either. So his damage was more than mine, so I lost. So that's the thing about.
Did he draw strong energy? Is that why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what Buzzwole does. Is you don't necessarily need to draw particularly well to do well. You just need to do enough to take 6 prizes. And I think Buzzwole is unique also in that you'll probably not have a terrible day playing it. I think you'll hit enough matchups you can win or overpower that you'll be in contention for some points. But with that said, I'm not sure it's a great deck if you want to win the tournament.
Okay. So I was actually go ahead.
Yeah, a couple, just to answer to build up on that, a couple decks that we haven't talked about right now that I think are viable plays are the sort of the Drampa Espeon Garb list that Xander Perot played in Collinsville. I think,
Is that a better play now than it was before?
It's a worse play now because of the field blowers, but it's still a viable play. I know I played Tarbell day 2 as well. He played unit energy with Kartana, which was really cute. To get psychic and metal, so I had to be wary of. As soon as you play the first unit energy down, I had to be very wary of the prize trade. It actually helped me because I had Sneasel, so I was able to discard energies, and I had enhanced hammers as well. But the other deck that I think is low key, flying under the radar, is Volcanion. Gustavo Wada played a straight Volcanion list with 4 baby Volcanion and 4 Volcanion EX to a top 8 finish at Collinsville. And whenever you're top 8 out of 1,000+ people, that obviously is something to watch out for. I think no one has been talking about it. Volcanion's a deck that's quite easy to play. I played 2 games with Gustavo's list. It ran very smoothly, no problems with it. So does it necessarily beat a good Zoroark player? Well, I think you'd have to be a good Volcanion player to do that, as Gustavo proved. But I think Volcanion, I would be remiss if we didn't mention that Volcanion was also a viable play for Collinsville.
Okay. So Ryan, you're gonna play Volcanion?
Am I gonna play Volcanion?
Yeah.
Boy, do I want to, but I probably wouldn't.
Okay. So the other day I'm playing Buzzrock. I was convinced I'm playing Buzzrock for Charlotte. 100%. I was on it. 19 out of 20 games, drew perfectly. I was like, this deck is amazing. I'm testing it against Rukan. I beat him 3-1. I'm like, I'm all in. And he's like, why would you play that? It's inconsistent. I was like, are you kidding? This is so consistent. The next 4 games, I dead drew 3. I played against Cena. I dead drew 4 out of 6. And then I played in real life, and I dead drew 2 out of 4. I was like, I hate you, Rukan. You ruined everything for me. He's like, just keeps throwing me statistics. Like, can't draw this, whatever. Play 4, and everything. He's like, play 4 Bridget. Do this. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's why I play in here. A lot of good testing going on right there.
I'm too dumb for that. So
and then he just run to a regional with it. Or like Sam, like when we play decks that we never played before, right before you go into a matchup, you just go find a friend that's played the deck. And you're like, yo, how do I play this matchup? They're like, just go spread 3 times. Thank you. And then there you go, you beat Gustavo.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. There's a story behind that.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a proponent of numbers. I think pretty high profile wise, but I think there's definitely a point too far, and it sounds to me like you're getting there. But,
yeah. No, I mean, I think it depends on what your ultimate goal is, right? If your ultimate goal is to never fail setting up, then obviously 4 Bridget, I think, is statistically the right play. Absolutely. Every Zoroark deck should play 4 Bridget if your ultimate goal is to never whiff. But sometimes when you play a deck, you want to take a risk because you're not winning 1,000-person regionals unless you're lucky and you're good. You have to be good, but you also have to be lucky at some point to hit the right matchups, to not dead draw. And so there comes a certain point where you have to gear yourself for the middle and late game. And the odds, because you already run 4 Tapu Lele and 3 Tapu Lele and 4 Ultra Ball and the 3 Bridget, the odds of your delta on playing the 4th Bridget may not be as high in terms of getting set up. And sometimes, yes, you do have to play with a weird board where you have 2 Lele's on the bench and try to use 1 Lele as an attacker so it gets a hit and then you waste to roll it. But sometimes you just need that spot to play another supporter. So for example, or another card. For example, I wanted to play the Sudowoodo counter energy combination in my Zoropod this past weekend at Elite Cup. So one of the cuts was, well, the 4th Bridget then obviously can't be played because the cuts from that list for the Sudowoodo and the counter energy have to come from somewhere. So I'm willing to trade off a bit of early game consistency such that I sometimes get like home run swings by using watch and learn randomly. Like I played against Frankie Durst, who's a very, very good local player in the tri-state area and in the Northeast. And I played his Ho-Oh Turtonator deck, and I was able to use Sudowoodo to come up with like a counter energy choice band, watch and learn play to knock to Phoenix Burn his Ho-Oh that just
blew up his Ho-Oh.
Exactly. So I mean, so like that play is not possible if I say I want to maximize consistency. I'm just going to play 4 Bridget. I'm just going to play 3 Evo Sodas. I'm definitely going to get Zoroark out. So it's a trade-off you have to make at every tournament. And I don't know exactly what I mean. I also have some tools, I guess, in Excel and in R that I use to calculate odds. But I think at some point, a little bit of experience and risk taking has to come into play.
You have to put yourself in a position to get lucky at some point, and that's
sometimes you have to. Yeah. That's my perspective. I might not be right.
Plus, all the success from like Buzzwole Lycanroc, I wouldn't even question its consistency. Like, look at everything it's done for so many decks. The list changes like 1 or 2 cards every single time. Like, we already know like what it's gonna do, and if you hit decks, are you doing well, or like there's certain like consistent lists out there. It's just.
Jeremiah, are you talking about? Seagrove. Are you talking about Zoroark?
I was originally talking about Buzzrock, but then he was saying for Zoroark, I should be playing 4 Bridget. He said for everything I should be playing 4 Bridget.
I like 3. I kind of want to. I want to go to 2 sometimes, but then I realize I'm an idiot, so I just go back to 3.
So I had this idea, right? Like, what if I just played a Zoroark deck that could one-shot everything? And that was Zoroark with the baby Salazzle. And apparently this was something that came up at 6 prizes too. So I took this to a cup, and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't do so well. Basically, what happened was
I'll apologize to you on behalf of Chris Schemanske and 6 prizes stuff.
If I it was unique. It was independently. It was separate. But on my list, my issue was if I start Lele and I go second, I lose to other Zoroark decks.
Oh, yes.
Just because you have to Lele for Bridget, and then you have to have 3 Zoroarks and 2 Salandit on your bench, or you will lose. So that's what happened in my game 1, and then that's what happened in my round 6. So I did not make top cut. Somehow didn't make it with Zoroark Salazzle, but I did in round 1 on stream against Ben Potter. Even though he beat me, I got the Oko with Salandit on Golisopod, so it was all worth it.
One of the things, I mean, one of the things I don't like about the 6 prizes list, sorry, Chris, is the fact that it only plays 2 Tapu Lele.
I want to. At some point, this was Xander's pet deck. That's all. I don't even. Did he write about it at some point? This is terrible. I don't even know if he did.
I don't think he did. Did he?
I don't think he did. Like this, I wouldn't call this the 6 prizes deck as much as Xander had a pet deck and talked to me about it for a very long time. That was mildly unhealthy, and he wasn't going to Oceania, so therefore it came down to whether I wanted to play it or not, and I very solidly chose to not touch it.
Good decision.
Sorry. I'm not looking
First I've heard of it since then.
So
I'm actually looking at Jeremiah's list from Flipside. So.
Cool. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I made a few changes like the night. That was 2 days before, and I made a few changes before the tournament. Got a little bit better, and then the night before the tournament got it a little bit worse, and then took it. And so
it's Xander's preferred topic of discussion for about 2 weeks. So it was. I'm
fun.
more familiar with that.
It's fun. So let's get on to counters. I want to talk about counters. First of all, against Buzzwole, everyone's favorite counters are Mewtwo and Mew. How do you decide which one you're going to play?
if your deck doesn't have something that it can copy to one-shot Buzzwole, you pretty clearly aren't playing Mew. Beyond that, they both have advantages. I think Buzzwole lists this weekend that are doing well would probably have thought about how to play against both. I think Mew is a little easier to theoretically play with because there's no prize exchange involved. Mewtwo's just there, but also Mew has a bigger potential upside. So you're probably weighing how much you want to bet on your opponent knowing what they're doing versus Mewtwo will always do something.
Mewtwo is also better. Mewtwo is also better in decks with ways to modify damage, like Kukui, just to be able to one-shot a 2-energy Buzzwole potentially. Mewtwo is also. I personally would play Mew for the reason that if you get ahead on the prize trade, Mew allows you to. You could puzzle for Mew and Guzma or something, and then if you already have or Mew DC, and if you already have the Guzma or something like that, and just take a knockout on Buzzwole. I think it lets you be more aggressive against Buzzwole by taking the one shot without needing the condition that they have energy already on them. Mm-hmm. And so I think if I were playing an aggressive deck, if I were playing any Zoroark deck, I would try to out-aggress the Buzzwole that I'm playing against. The other thing that Mew does is that Mew forces you to do something drastic to one-shot it. So either against Buzzwole, so either they have to bring up their Lycanroc that turn, which gives you a first impression, a potential of first impression for the knockout, or they have to knock out with Knuckle Impact. They can't just jet punch you for 30-30. So Mew actually lets you be more aggressive. Mew has also some weaknesses because if you're down in the prize trade and they already have another Buzzwole on the bench with 2 energies on it, your Mew's not going to do much good. So I prefer it. But I also wouldn't be against running both Mewtwo and Mew.
Yes.
If you expect
I was going to say
Lycanroc. If you expect Buzzwole, Lycanroc, and Buzzwole Garb to be a huge part of the meta. I think if Golisopod Zoroark runs 3 Field Blower, Mewtwo and Mew, you're going to be slightly favored against every Buzzwole variant, and that includes Lycanroc or Garbodor. So
I really did like that Pierce played both of them. It was give him a bunch of options, yeah. In the top 4, he played both, and it gives you those options. So, like, if they already have 3 energies on and just took a big knockout with Buzzwole, you're like, all right, Mewtwo knockout. And then they're like, oh, God. If they're just setting up and you have that opportunity, you just go Mew knockout. And then they're like, oh, God.
Either way. Ross, would you play both?
I just play Mew EX. I would never play. I don't know what deck. Yeah, it really depends on the deck.
Exactly.
But you like 100%. I would rather play Mew EX over anything because I want to play Zoroark over anything. I want to win, and then you need to be aggressive. Like playing Mew means you don't have to depend on your opponent to attach energy. Like it's so reactionary. Why don't you just make the first move?
I mean, every deck runs some tech cards, right? So if you want as a Zoroark player, if you want to just take Russell's top 8 list, cut the second parallel, which Russell says don't cut, for a Mewtwo just to solidify your Buzzwole matchup, like that's I think a perfect.
You already stomp it. It does nothing for you.
No, but it turns your potential if you think it's 60-40 into like a 70.
You know what hurts them? A parallel city. That really hurts them. You parallel city them, and they're like, I'm gonna keep this guy Guzma Mew EX knockout, and you're like, oh okay, great game, man. A lot of fun skill and interaction.
So against Zoroark, let's go through them. Zoroark Counterbox and Zoroark Weavile, I think we can put together. How can you counter those two?
Weavile just depends on your deck. Counterbox, don't be an idiot.
Think out plays.
Trade 2 for 2.
Don't just blindly
until
go
they
in.
throw the basic fighting energy at you, then you got outplayed. You know? And you're like, oh, I'm gonna play this counter energy. Then you swing with the Riotous Beating, and then just like attach fighting. Bah! And you're like, all right, never mind. Sorry, I apologize.
What if you are an idiot? Then what do you do?
Don't just blindly go in. Like play a little cautiously.
Mm-hmm. Or just allow it to happen. Like
no.
You really do. Like you allow yourself to get hit by a counter energy. Your first turn goes Guzma, smack their Zoroark. They don't play Acerola, or if they're getting to one, then apparently their hands is bejesus. And then you just KO that Zoroark. They come back, they KO your Zoroark, and then you use whatever you have left to go KO, take a counter hit, and KO. If not, you can go pick off the Sudowoodo after they take another 2 prizes, which means you're down to 2 prizes. You're down to 3 prizes to their 2. And then did you end them? Did you regulate their Zoroark on board? Did you parallel city them down? Did you enhance hammer? Like, how's their hand size? What are you looking for? It's a very. This is why this format's so fun, because we talk about very simplistic plays, but getting to that state where you actually need to make said simplistic play where it's gonna win you the game is tough for what I see as bad players to do. Like they struggle with seeing when they should be doing that or setting it up. Like in like the new pod decks, people don't grab Coco in opening turns. And then they're like, oh, how am I supposed to make a Mew play? I have to DC retreat or like do this or that. Or like they attach a DC to the Zoroark early. It gets KO'd or something. And it's like you should have used Mallow or something to get Floatstone. But my list doesn't play Mallow, so people are questioning why I didn't play Mallow. You know, so there's a lot of little subtle things that the great players, it's so second, like it's nature to them. Like it's second hand. They don't care. But to the people just picking up Zoroark and stuff because they see it's becoming meta, they're having time struggling and adapting to it. At least from what I've seen. I see no one else like shaking their head up and down or agreeing. So
Zoroark is a deck that in the recent several years of Pokemon, there's no deck that requires proper sequencing quite like Zoroark in Standard.
Yeah.
In Expanded, it's a little different story because I'm pretty sure Skyfield, Chorus, Getsis, Red Card, Execute, Zoroark, and Hex weren't all designed with each other in mind. But in Standard, at least, sequencing, discarding the right things early, like knowing what's prized is super important now. It's, for example, like knowing whether you can trade away the Guzma if you have 1 or 2 left in your deck, knowing when to Mallow even. I know Russell didn't play Mallow. Like knowing when do you save the N and Cynthia versus when do you trade it away, thinning your deck so that your deck composition when you're down in the last 10 cards, that you, to maximize your odds of hitting the game-winning double puzzle or something like that. There's a lot of proper sequencing. There's not so many, but there was definitely a few times where I observed my opponent and once where I observed myself in Collinsville discarding the wrong things to trade and like set it, like I just screwed my, I lost one game. Thankfully I didn't lose the match, but I lost one game because I just I managed my resources mid-game poorly. Like I discarded the wrong things to trade. I should have Cynthia'd a turn to Cynthia the puzzles back to get better cards to trade away, but I thought, oh, I should hold on to double puzzle. So there's so many things, small things that I think you notice with experience that you're doing wrong. And I think
40, at least 45 plus misplays on my part on day one. Like, because I keep my own like self counter, but like the entire time I was like, trade. That was dumb. Why'd I do that? I'd still win, but at the same time, like I'm an idiot. Like that was mark that down like for this given scenario and stuff. But
yeah, one of the things I explain to people is like Pokemon's a game where you make, in any given game, you make between like 40 and 60 decisions, perhaps. And let's say you make 60 decisions. About 50 of those, you just need to have played the game for 3 months to make the correct decision. There's 5 of those then where it's sort of like if you're skilled, if you played for a long time or experienced, it comes very second nature to you. And the last like couple decisions are those that really can make or break the game for you sometimes. I think with Zoroark decks, it takes the number of decisions you make up from 40 to 60 up to like 80 to 100. Right. So it increases the skill, or not skill, but it increases the necessity to sequence properly and to practice the deck. So
makes better players better.
Yeah, I like what Zoroark's doing in Standard. I don't like what's doing Expanded. So
when you mentioned all those cards not being meant to play together, it reminded me. Alex Wilson played Zoroark Magnezone in I don't remember which regional. He said he Colressed for 16 twice in the same turn. I was like, yeah, I'm sure they thought they had that in mind when they built.
But here's the thing: if he did that to me, I wouldn't care. Like as long as the supporter's not Hexmaniac or Guzma, I'm chilling. Like, oh, Colress twice, do you, dude? Like you drew 32 cards. Who cares? Like your deck sucks. I'm gonna kick you in the mouth. You didn't hex.
Probably half of those in the second hand you drew in the first hand and couldn't play.
Yeah.
So
there's in Standard there's a lot of how do I say it? There's a lot more comeback potential with Zoroark decks based on how you build your list. In Expanded, I think once Zoroark takes the lead, I know Finn did a cute thing. The Executor allows you to swing the the momentum back in your way that game because it blocks their Hex Maniac the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you can red card. You get the good end of the red card Hex deal at the sacrifice of one Executor. But in general and expanded, it's a very, very hard to make a comeback against an opponent who knows what they're doing. Whereas in standard, it's a lot more thinking and back and forth to plan out your game, as opposed to hope I don't whiff.
Sure. So when I see my opponent put down a Sudowoodo, I'm playing Zoroark. Am I Guzmaning that up unless I'm counting prize trade and I know I have prize trade, or you just leave it?
It's Parallel No, really, that's like amazing point. It's like Parallel City. The pressure's on you. How much do you value your Sudowoodo over your other Zoro on the bench? Oh, okay. I'm gonna keep this. Cool. I'm gonna Guzma your like Zoroa and smack it with a Lele or something that I prepped because I put a Grass Energy on it last turn because my hand sucks. Like there's a lot of little mini things you can do like that, and then you're like, feel free to make your counter energy play, and then now you have no Zoroark GX. I'm gonna end you, knock out your Sudowoodo. We're gonna be even prizes, and you're gonna lose. That happens a lot. So.
What?
I played Zoropod this weekend, and I actually found myself trading away the Sudowoodo. Like, I knew I had both Sudowoodo and counter energy in deck, and as long as I didn't prize a puzzle, if I had Sudowoodo in my hand, that's one of the first things I would trade away, because early game, like, I want to try to win without Sudowoodo. So I want my bench space for the Coco, keep one open for the Lele for a Guzma play, have a win pod, maybe 2, and then 3 Zoroark GXs. So you don't, you're like, I would actually, in some instances when I had Sudowoodo and counter in my deck, I would actually just try to trade both of them away. I actually once Ultra Balled the Sudowoodo and the counter to get a Zoro, or to get a Golisopod or something out. So you want to, like, Sudowoodo clogs up your bench unless you're playing Zoroark counterbox, in which case, obviously, you have access to a second Sudowoodo in your deck, so benching it is perfectly safe. If they parallel, you just discard it.
But at that point, like, at what point does it become I'm playing these 2 cards that are maybes if I need to make a comeback against Zoroark, or why not just play 2 other cards that are better? Ace of Roll, Enhance Hammer, Max Potion, etc. Like, did you find value in it?
Yes, Sudowoodo does other things. I copied Absorption once. That was real cool. Like, I copied Absorption. Like, they just Max Elixir twice to a Buzzwole, like, brought it up, killed my Zoroark, and I just attach, or I Mallow Mallow trade Absorption. It was really good against Ho-Oh Salazzle as well. Sudowoodo actually punishes perhaps players who plan less around it being in your deck. I think in my early rounds against, I actually in my winning in to cut, I actually played against Drew Goritsky, and he went first and sort of got tempo on me, killed Zorua first, and I was able to return the KO with the Sudowoodo to sort of put us back on even trading grounds, or even prize trade grounds. So
how do you play around it, being in your opponent's deck?
One thing you can try to do, it depends on if you're on odd or even prizes. If you're on,
you're talking about counter energy? Playing around counter energy, or playing around Sudowoodo?
Are you talking about Buzzwole Lycanroc? Because that's a whole different game.
I just mean Sudowoodo, but did you mean playing around the counter energy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you're playing against Sudowoodo in any Zoroark deck, you need to try to play around the counter energy.
Okay.
So that means sometimes the Zoroark GX is active and it has damage on it. They could Ace roll it, but then you go after one of their Zoruas on the bench to make sure you don't pop their counter energy that turn. Because they have Sudowoodo. You try to parallel them, as Russell said. You just try to make yourself not lose in prizes when you can't afford to lose a Zoroark that turn. Against Buzzwole Lycanroc, one of their main plans is to use Sudowoodo against you, so you sort of just have to try to be aggressive. Oftentimes what you'll do is you'll kill a Rockruff if they have an energy on it, if you have a random turn where you can afford to do that. So then once you kill the Rockruff, actually going to odd prizes really discourages them from playing Sudowoodo, because then they're 2 knockouts away. So it depends really on the prize, whether you're on odd or evens at that point. And if you knocked out something, or like knocked out a Remoraid early against Buzzrock, and you're already on odd prizes, then maybe you don't go after that Rockruff and you just try to take 2 prizes, such that there's sort of like two GX knockouts, such that their Sudowoodo cannot be used effectively without losing them the game. It's really hard to explain, because playing around Sudowoodo and counter energies in general is sort of a very case by case basis type of deal. It's something I think if you're a newer player watching this, I think one of the things you just have to do is practice against it.
And use Golisopod to swing. It doesn't die to watch and learn, and then you can Ace a Rolla.
Well, they can also watch and learn first impression. They can Guzma up Zoroark and watch and.
No, I'm fine with that. Apparently your hand's busted. Like you have a Sudowoodo, I didn't kill it. You get a Guzma and this and that, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, but that was your one counter energy turn, and now I'm gonna Guzma your Zoroark back. See, so it's very.
I mean, yeah. So swing with Golisopod is better. I'm talking about in general though, like against how to play against Sudowoodo decks. But right, if you have a Zoropod.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying because there's nothing in counter energy decks that could touch Golisopod without already being seen. The only card's Reshiram. And Reshiram needs 2 energy attachment. Besides Outrage, then again, you're dumb for swinging into it. So there's like, Golisopod's busted just because of that. Because it's the only reason it's gonna die is because you let it go at active and you overbenched and you get smacked by a Lycanroc. Like that's the only reason Golisopod should be getting KO'd, unless you misplay with it.
All right, so the big 3 Zoroark decks that we mentioned, I would say, are Pod, Rock, and Guardy. What's the best way to counter each of those? Or Ryan, why don't you give me one card that counters one of those decks? Or all of them?
I mean, Parallel is a pretty good counter for any Zoroark variant. Honestly, there's not many like one card things that counter those decks. It's kind of just like a case by case thing of like cards that help to better the matchups. But like, there's not really anything like you can play more Ace Rolls, you can play more healing, you can play more enhanced hammers. But there's not really like any one card that swings it. Like there's 2 cards, like you can play Sudowoodo 1 counter if you're playing something like that. But then you're getting a little too spicy. It's just kind of a case by case thing, and you can play cards that help better your matchups. A little more healing, a little more tech cards, a little more different, like different attackers or something. But there's not really any one card besides like Parallel, which just hurts Zoroark in general.
Okay. Sam, were you playing? I mean, obviously against Zoroark, you have Glaceon, you have
don't play
Wobbuffet,
yeah,
and you have Garbodor.
Do it.
Sam, were you playing a Wobbuffet in your Kiawe Hoa?
No.
Okay.
Should I be?
It's pretty good. If you need to Kiawe, you can retreat into it and then Kiawe.
I mean, yeah, it's good, but like you generally don't get to choose that turn 1. You generally have to lay for the Kiawe on turn 1, and then
I'm talking about later in game. If sometimes you have to Kiawe a second time, and you could I could Kiawe or I could Nitro Tank, or I can put up a pseudo whatever it's called Wobbuffet and Kiawe. That's the idea.
But that means that you didn't end.
Kiawe twice,
which means you lost.
Okay.
Because their hand has 18 cards and 4 puzzles.
Fair enough.
Like that's how it always. Whenever I feel like I'm playing a Zoroark deck, did I end them? No. All right. Am I killing every Zoroark on board? No. All right. We're losing. And that's why when people ask you about like, oh, I want to play this week, and like not playing Zoroark is the same as not playing Lele when Lele got released. It's no longer a like deck on its own. It's a utility for like a whole nother level. That's my personal opinion. Every deck we're talking about, it's like Zoro plus X plus like no, but those specifically beat Zoroark.
Right.
Like it's like anti-meta crap in my eyes.
So
because I think like Buzz Lycanroc, it's a fine deck. It's very Max Elixir oriented. I'll never play it once in my life, but like it's half the reason it's strong is because everyone around it's playing Zoroark.
Here's my actual advice to anyone who's going to Charlotte who is unsure about whether they should play Zoroark or whether they should play their deck. Find a friend. Play a best of 3 against Zoropod. Play a best of 3 against Zoroark Lycanroc. If you are not at least 3-3 in those games or better in those games, then you should probably play one of the 2 decks that just beat you. If you find like this is just a quick and dirty Friday night, I don't have much time to test. Like let's just play some games. If you are not,
is that how you refer to your testing? A quick and dirty Friday night.
Dirty. We're gonna play Weavile tomorrow.
Or you could choose 2 Zoroark variants that are common, and play 2 best of 3s against it. If your deck is not doing even or better against it, then you should probably play one of the decks that just beat you.
Yep. Good, because Talonflame Rampardos is going to 6-0, baby.
Rampardos is a fine play if you want to take a if you want to try to hit that home run and take a swing at it. But certainly, if you're looking for a safer avenue to points, Rampardos is definitely a much riskier play than a lot of other decks that are available.
Okay. Christopher, is Mill have any place at this tournament?
No.
All right, great. That's what I like to hear.
Sylveon's
probably
is the only Mill deck that I would consider playing.
How do you beat Sylveon?
I was going to go. Honestly, Buzzwole beats it. Buzzwole can beat it.
Everything beats it.
It's bad.
Sylveon's favored against decks that don't run that many energy. And
if you're playing against Zoroark with like 4 energy, it probably can beat it. I don't think it beats Zoroark with 7 or 8 energy like Golisopod would tend to run.
It's 50.
There was a lot of just the other League Cups. Somehow Sylveon did well there or something in Michigan this weekend. So I've heard some talk about it, but I don't. There are just better decks to play, but people play those decks for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Keep it coming. I need free wins. It was great. I'm definitely playing a Wrangler this weekend.
Okay. Anything spicy on the radar that y'all want to talk about before we start winding down?
Playing the mirror match well. Oh, nothing gets spicier than when your opponent doesn't know what they're doing in the mirror and you do. It's like a whole other world.
Sounds great.
Oh, really? Like learning that mirror match is super, super good. To the point where you can make it where it's toxic, like with a good player. If you can make some toxic mirror matches with a good player, that's awesome.
All right. Well, let's start. Go ahead.
I don't know if I should admit this in public, but I've definitely played some games with Magnezo and Duskmane. And it's one of those decks that sometimes you feel this deck is really good, and you're just wondering if you can do it, 75% of the time. But I mean, it's not spicy since lists weren't very good. I actually think one of the things that might actually help is playing, there's the bench guard Magnemite to help you against Buzzwole. Mm-hmm. But I think I think some combination of the free retreat Magnemite, the lightning type one that just gets one shot by Buzzwole, and the Magnemite that lets you search your deck for 3 energies could help the deck. I don't know. The deck's not very good, but if there's anything, it's not even spicy because it's a known commodity. But
I feel like
I guess I should mention it's a deck I played 5 or 6 games.
Don't you have to do the free retreat so that you can go to the bench and overclock turn 1?
Or you just play the overclock.
Or you can just play good.
Just
deck.
start it.
Oh, you mean Dialga?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, sure.
If you play Dialga, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
So, best deck that you will not be playing at Charlotte, and I guess Sam, for you, this is what's the best deck?
If I want to go safe for points, I'd play Zoropod. I think the deck I would play is Zoroark Counterbox.
Okay.
I think it gives me it gives me a little more variance in my matchups. I can outplay people better. It's easier to outplay people with that than Zoropod, and I would not be against putting in a Reshiram. I'm already playing a basic fighting, and I'm not against playing in a Reshiram or even a Reshiram in a Cal. Like I'm not afraid of just going all in with it and trying to see what happens, because I think it's actually significantly easier to top 256 a large regionals than it is to say, top 64 380 person regional.
And Charlotte's in that sweet spot.
Oh yeah, you're talking about just getting points in general.
I'm talking about getting points. You need top 64. Is it 64? Yeah, you need top 64 at like a 380 person regional, and I think that's much more difficult than getting top 256 at 1,000 person regionals. Consider like the record you need is I think
it'll be 5-4 this weekend realistically.
5-4 so the high 5-4.
We're like 8. We're gonna be at around under 900. It looks like.
With the way the tie rate went in Collinsville, I think 5-4 will sneak in and more than a small handful, but not all of them.
Is that 30 points for top 256?
30 points.
Okay.
Can 20 points make day 2? No?
Pardon?
I mean, it depends on what
612 should.
Oh.
Some bubble, right? 612 should be the bubble.
It depends.
We're looking at around 850, 900, somewhere in there, I think.
Yeah.
Probably
Still
maybe under
depends.
850. Okay.
What's the 6-round day 2 at? Because that is actually horrific.
800.
So we already hit that.
Yeah, we have that. Trust. Yeah.
Oh my
There-
god.
I'll save that rant. There's no good reason we'd have the 6th round.
It's so
At
bad.
800, there
You're
are
never
good
safe. You're never safe.
At 800, it's not logical. But anyway.
Wait. Is it even if there's more than 30? Even if there are 32 or fewer, is it still 6 rounds? If there are
Yeah.
800? What?
800 players, not the size of day 2.
What? I did not know this.
I'm actually one of the few who likes the 6-round day 2. It decreases my variance.
I don't like strictly hate it, just
That's
from a
so
time
much
perspective
Pokemon.
and a math perspective. I don't know why we have
That's really mine for me, time perspective.
There were 2 times this year where I missed a fight, and I don't appreciate the 6th round because I would have made one of those 2 fights. But that's a first world problem. I think. Yeah. But I don't mind playing an extra round if you're already in day 2, and I think there are much larger problems with regionals
Oh, easily.
than how many rounds you're playing day 2.
Tell that to the dude that gets like 36th and doesn't get money.
Right, that's
Play
a
that-
bigger
play
problem.
that last
That's-
round.
Yeah, I mean that's
That's
this
a bigger
weekend.
problem than I think than the 6th round.
Yeah.
What if the 6th round made him get to there? What if he just got Poor guy, man.
There
We-
has to be
we
6
could-
rounds
Oh.
with
We
35.
could exceed 32, but it might not happen.
I hope not.
That's
Fort Wayne had 33 at what was it like?
855, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it
Oh
was.
my gosh, never mind,
You-
dude.
you
You
might be
go
right.
X2 again?
I mean, Fort Wayne was also expanded in a different, completely
Right, so
different.
expanded is a lot fewer ties.
Right. Well, until Costa Mesa, actually. Costa Mesa sort of broke that for whatever reason. But
All right, Christopher, what is the best deck you will not be playing?
probably Zoroark like Henrock, just because I know I won't be playing it.
And why won't you be playing it?
Because I've never played it before and I don't have that much time in my hands.
Okay. Russ, best deck you will not be playing.
Zoroark Guardy. Zoroark Weavile. Zoroark Guard Weavile.
Yeah.
Weavile. Yes, there you go.
Okay.
We got it.
And why not?
Why won't I?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to change 2 cards about my Zoroark list, and I kind of feel like making top 8 again.
All right.
I'm gonna try. Last time I took a lot of luck sacking.
So Zoroark Weavile is the second best deck?
Not necessarily. I'm considering playing Zoroark Lycanroc. I'm just between
Okay.
those 2 cards. The only reason I won't really play Lycanroc is because I like decking people out, which I feel like I can do a lot more with Golisopod. And I decked up 8 people at Collinsville, and I think it's only because my opponents misplayed. But it's the fact that I recognize them misplaying that well, that like I can see and be like, oh, we're gonna deck them out. It's like turn 6.
You,
I'm like,
you
should've
can't
done
count
that.
on the Oranguru strategy to get you through day 2. I'm sure 60% of the people in day 2 will know how to play against.
Please, Sam, stop. Did you play against Quad Hoopa round 1, day 2? Did you play against one? Shut up, Sam. I sent him over there right next to you. I'm pretty sure he sat next to you round 4. And I was like, there you go, boy.
The love. Say what
Yeah,
else.
I played Oranguru as well, so I just never got to use it.
Did you play Ringaroo?
I did.
Oh, you suck.
I
Never
played
mind.
Oranguru. It
Proud of
actually
you.
was very instrumental to beating Greninja.
You haven't enhanced hammered Ace of Rolled and then grabbed back 3 puzzles and enhanced hammer, and then they couldn't knock out your Rangaroo because you parallel city to Zoroark. You haven't done that yet? It's so busted. Like, boy, they
I mean,
lost.
I generally try to go the Weavile strat.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. Well, actually, we'll come back after. Sabelhaus, best deck you will not be playing.
Buzzwole, Garbodor, Carbink.
Okay. And
That's
why
a
won't you
choice.
play
You
it?
like that?
Because Buzzrock's better.
No, that's the best deck that I know I'm not gonna play.
And that's
All
just,
the other decks are options. I just know I'm not gonna play.
is
them.
that because Buzzrock's just better?
It's just not my style. I feel like Lycanroc's better, and I don't know.
Because you
It's
can't
good.
draw.
I mean,
well-
it's a-
you
it's a
can't draw
good-
well off of end of 2. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's a good deck. I can't get into 2 and win.
Okay, what about Greninja, boys? No go because Pod's too big?
Yeah, this is bad.
Or just don't play a deck that loses to itself. It took Sam and Pablo like 3 internationals to realize this. I saw Sam like tying people that don't even
Were
play
you
the game.
004, Sam?
I think you played a Greninja match in Europe, and it was someone who never played the game before. And I was like, oh, Sam Chen. I was like, look at this dude. 003. Easy peasy.
004.
004. Sorry.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, I think Greninja got a lot more consistent with Cynthia. The main problem with Greninja is that one, Zoropod I think will be the most commonly played version of Zoroark, given Ian's win and Russell's top 8, and I guess Joey's top 8 as well. And generally, like, a lot of people are saying it's good. I'm saying it's good. Igor got 10th with it. So Zoropod we played a lot. Armor Press is real bad for Greninja. If they can draw the DCs that just got enhanced off. And the other thing is a lot of Zoroark decks and decks in general are playing that one of Giratina. I know I played, there were like 3 Greninjas near the top tables in Collinsville, and I was paired against one of them, and I just didn't prize Giratina. So I just like took one of them out, and like the other 2, one lost to Garb, Golisopod. The other one, I don't know what happened to him. So Greninja is definitely more consistent, but there's also things that more naturally counter Greninja in standard format now than there was, say, 6 months ago. So I vowed to never play Greninja again. I don't even bring my Greninja cards to tournaments with me anymore.
I sold mine after I played it the second time.
Yeah, I swore it off Fort Wayne a year and a half ago or something. So
yeah,
no.
I never did it once. I don't know what made you guys so interested in it.
I played the Talonflame version, 4 Talonflame, 3 Froakie, in a 5-round tournament. I started Talonflame once, and I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Those are odds.
Yes.
I wasted a
66%.
Worlds on it.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
It's 2/3 to start Talonflame.
Ryan, you never played Greninja, did you?
It was awful. I did twice.
Yeah.
I have not won a game with it in tournament play.
When you did it the second time, is it because you hated yourself?
No, actually, I played it at the World Championships the second time, so I really hated
Yep.
myself.
I loathed myself.
2015.
I think I went 0-1-3. Yeah.
Sounds
Weird.
familiar. All right.
It sounds like my London experience.
Let's do some shout outs and we'll end this thing. I think we're about at an hour and a half now. So Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sponsored.
Hey.
Hey, so follow me on Twitter. I got this new hoodie from Huff. It's my favorite hoodie of all time now. Felix the Cat. Shout out to Huff for making such a cool hoodie.
Baller.
And good luck to all of you guys and all of everyone watching and all my friends at Charlotte. Hopefully one of you wins, except Russell.
Dude, come on, man.
Christopher, shout outs.
6prizes.com if you want to read about Rampardos on tomorrow. I don't know what day you're putting this up, but Tuesday, Wednesday, it'll be there. It's an experience. There you go.
Did you make your mark on Jurassic Park?
Yeah, there we go.
Did you like it? No?
It was better than I expected, but I had very low expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I said the same thing about the Warcraft movie, and you know how that is. Russell, go ahead.
I don't know. Follow me on Twitter. I don't really say anything ever. You can add me on Facebook. Just don't bother me too much. Follow us at someone'spc.com. We're all nice guys on the team, so feel free to come to us and say hi during tournaments and stuff. Those are always fun. I'm sorry I don't remember everyone's names, but I'm a lot shorter than I look online. Trust me, I've heard it 20 times per tournament for the last 3 years. So.
And I'm a lot taller than I am.
Yeah, Sam's a
know about
lot taller. Yeah.
Yes. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Sabelhaus_TCG. You can go to 60cards.net for articles, and then also the Dark Patch is coming out with articles if you want to have pros edit your articles. And that's about it.
All right, cool.
What about CCG? Oh.
Go ahead.
CC what? CC what?
So for myself and Russell, shout out to Flipside Gaming. Buy your stuff there. I'll throw out my code since he didn't. I already forgot. Oh, Seagrove all caps is the discount code for 10% off. And if you some cards are cheaper than TCG Player with that discount, like I don't know, elixirs and lele's and stuff. Where
have you looked lately? They lowered it a lot.
Okay, good.
Prices are like already competitive with TCG Player somewhat.
Yeah,
Worth it to buy from.
So hit up Flipside Gaming. Oh, check out my articles on Flipside Gaming. I write about rogue decks. So that's how Salazzle got born. And I get to play these things at Cups once I get my finishes and loses in top 8 to Ryan. So that's how it goes. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck at Charlotte. Yeah, have a great life. But
Jeez.